take it again, okay, quickly. So I said that last week we ended at slicing strings, okay. Last week we ended at what? Slicing strings. And slicing strings, what we're doing is that we were basically um, separating the string. So if we have something like hello world, let me push all this back. So if we have something like a is equal to what? Hello world, right? Okay, we could slice the string, meaning that we could take bits and pieces of that string, right? So we could have something like print a, and then we could say a0, right? A0 means print the first character of each. A1 means print the second character. A2 means print the third character. Please, I hope you understand this. This is simple enough. Let me comment this out. Okay, so hope this is clear enough, right? So here I printed the E by saying that print what? A index E, right? Okay. If I wanted to print the H, it would be what? Print A index what? 0. That's what will print the H for me. You can see EH. Okay. Alright. Then apart from just printing characters, you can print like a range of characters. So you can actually print like the whole of hello, right? To do that, you just need to indicate where you are starting from and where you are ending. So we are starting from hello, so we are going to leave it empty. Okay, when you leave it empty, it means that start from the extreme left. Okay, so that's the first one. Then the second part, I'm going to say 5 because when you print using a range, okay, or when you choose something using a range, it doesn't add the last character. So 5 is the space over here. So it won't add this word space. It will rather end on what? Hello. The O, right, of hello. So if I should print this, you see hello. Now the same way I can do it the other way and print world, where I'll say, okay, start from the 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Start from the 6th character. That's start from the 6th index, sorry. And then end on the last index, right? So if I should print this, that is that. You get world, okay? Then I also spoke about negative indexing. That sometimes you don't want to count from the beginning, you rather want to count from the back, right? So with that, we can do something like print. Let's say I want to print WOR, right? I can do something like print 6, then -2, right? So DL, L is -2, so it will print up to the character before -2 index, and that will give me WOR, right? Okay, so that's basically a nutshell of what we did last week. So that's the first thing I went through for those who missed it. Now we move to a new topic, or a new subtopic, because it's really not a new topic, it's just a subtopic. We move to a new subtopic called modifying strings. Okay, modifying strings means how do I change the string? How do I change the string to look like something else? And we started out from, we use the same example, hello world. Okay, so we still have hello world, and hello world has a mixture of capital and small letters. Hope you can see that. Now if I do dot upper, which is here, you see, so I'm going to use the method dot upper. So if I say print a dot upper, right, the upper means that change the characters in A to what? Uppercase letters. That's capital letters. So if I should run that, it will give me hello world, but all in what? Capital letters. If I use a dot lower, if I use the dot lower method, then it will print it in what? In small letters. So here you can see capital letters, small letters, right? Okay. Then I spoke about how to remove spaces around your distance. So sometimes when people are entering data, they mistakenly leave spaces before the word or after the word. So if the person is typing hello world, he can type hello, like leave a space before he types hello, and at the end of the word leave another space. This is going to disturb your data. Why? Because I showed you the method or the function len. Len means how many characters is in this string. So let me comment this out. So if I should print the length of hello world, you see what it will give me. It gave me 11, right? Now if I should leave a space, let's say somebody mistakenly leaves a space when entering the data, you realize that now the data is messed up because now it's saying that the length is 13. Meanwhile, the number of characters that you expect is 11, right? So because of that, we need a way to clean up the string so that it removes the beginning letters and the end letters. So we used strip, dot strip. The dot strip method or the strip method allows you to remove spaces at the beginning and at the end of your string, right? So if we do dot strip and then we store it in a variable called new phrase, and now we check the length of our new phrase, we'll realize that the first one was 13, but now is what? 11, because the dot strip method removed the what? The space before the hello and the space after the what? The world. Okay, so now we have our word back to 11 characters as it should be, or our phrase back to 11 characters as it should be. Okay, so that was for strip. Now we took it to the next level where we said that, okay, what if we want to replace characters in a string? So for example, we have hello world, right? But we want to change the H to J. The H in the hello, we want to change it to J. So we created a new variable and said it's equal to a.replace. So we are using the dot replace method. So the dot replace method, you would specify which character you are changing and what you are changing it to. So here we are changing H to J. So this H is supposed to change to J. Now when we run it, we will see the results that hello world now changes to what? Jello world. Okay, hello world changes to jello world. So that is that with replace or the dot replace method. Okay, now then we came to our new found method, or the last method that we looked at. Okay, the last method that we are looking at is called the split method. The split method, and I spent some time on the split method saying that the split method is very useful because it allows you to split a string into individual items. Okay, and that's where we use this example. We said that, okay, if somebody gives us a string with names of people in his class, Kojo, Ama, Kofi, Ama, Kojo, Kwamina, John, Barbara, right? And we want to put this in a database as individual names, then we have to split the string into their individual items. Okay, now what is happening is that, watch this. What is happening is that, so print A is storing all these things. When I print A, when I print A, you are going to see that A is just a string of what? Names, right? Now if we want to get these names as a list, okay, and I spoke about lists some time ago in terms of the types of data. Okay, list is basically like a group of items, right? Okay, now if I split this and then I print the new variable, so I split this, I use the a dot split to split the items, and I store it in a variable called new a, and I print that new a, you realize that we'll still have the Kofi, Ama, Kojo, Kwamina, but this time we will have them as individual items in a list. Okay, and the list, you can see, is a list because it has a square brackets, right? I spoke about that when we're doing data types. Now if I should print just the if I want to print the items one by one, for example, I want to print just the first item, right? I'll do new a item 1, that's 0, right? Index 0. Then here I have index 1, that's the second item. I have index 2, third item. I have index 3. Okay, so you can see Kofi, Ama, Kojo, Kwamina, right? But if you've noticed, the Kofi and the Ama, the Kofi is in line like normal, but the Ama, Kojo, Kwamina are not in line. It's like there's a space before them, and that is because Python considers space in a string as a character. Do you see? So then we need to clean up the data. So that's when I asked, what can we use? What method can we use to clean up this data? And someone from Ancilla School said strip. Okay, and that is true. If we strip the data, it will clean up the data for us so that everything would line up, so that it doesn't consider the space before Ama as what? As a character. Okay. So that's what we did finally. We stripped the items. So the new A0, new A1, we stripped them so that they don't have empty spaces in them. So even though this question was not about strip, or even though this was not about strip, after we split them, we realized that using strip would be helpful to clean up our data. So that's why I was saying that most questions, when you get them, it will take a combination of 10 things that you've already learned to solve the problem. Okay, so if I should run this, you see that the first one, Kofi, Ama, Kojo, Kwamina, they weren't in line, but the second one, Kofi, Ama, Kojo, Kwamina, are in line because we used the strip method. Hope that makes sense. Now, Freddy and Ona 84. Freddy Lemar and Ona 84. Please, are you okay? You are the two who said I should go back. Please, have I helped you? Because this is where we got to. Okay, Freddy is okay now. So, let's move on. Okay, now, this is where we end with modifying strings. Okay, this is where we end with modifying what? Strings. So we've done slicing strings, modifying strings. Let me keep the same. I'll not delete it. I'll just keep this. Okay, now let's continue. Now we are coming to do concatenating strings. Okay, concatenating string. Now this thing, you have to make sure you get it because it will be part of your bread and butter. What I'm about to teach right now, please make sure you understand it. Now, when you say concatenating, what are you really talking about? Concatenating usually would mean joining, okay, or combining, right? How do you put a bunch of strings together? So for example, if you have A is equal to hello, right, and you have B is equal to world. Now we all know that the plus sign serves as an operator which allows you to add. Okay, it's an add operator, but the plus sign is also more than add, it's also join. Okay, it joins stuff. So I can say print A plus B, which simply means join A and B. Okay, if I should print this, what will happen is that it will print hello world. But here we can see that okay, so Ancilla is asking whether you can use the new line. Let me call it. It's not really a function, so you can't call it a function. A function will have a bracket at the end. Okay, so Ancilla, just note that anytime you say function, it should have a bracket at the end. So something like strip. You get me? This is a function, but this is not a function. It's just, where's my forward slash? Okay, it's just a way of formatting your string to make sure that it goes to the next line. That's all. So yeah, it doesn't really how do I say, they serve different purposes. You can't use that for strip. This the backslash, is it backslash? Yeah, backslash n, right? It moves the line or the next line, as in the line that follows it, to the next line. That's what it does. You can't use it in place of strip. Strip is very different from that. Strip removes the space, right? Forward backslash n moves the thing onto the next line. So since it has come up, let me show people what it is. So for example, I'm saying this because Ansela has asked the question. I don't know whether it's he or she, but he says that, sir, please can you choose to use the new line function instead of using the strip function? And when he says new line function, she's talking about this, okay? And I'm saying that they serve two different purposes. First of all, this thing is not a function, so don't call it function, okay? It's just a way of formatting your string, okay, so that it is more presentable. That is all, but it's not a function. So what he's trying to say is that, for example, if I have something like, let's say, let me call this phrase, okay, and let's say phrase is this: hello people of BBQ, right? And then I want to say it is a pleasure to meet you, right? But you want it to go to the next line. You don't want it to be on the same line, because if I should print this, okay, if I should print phrase, let me clear this. If I should print phrase, I'm coming. Let me just remove this, okay? We will come to the concatenating. We will come back in. If I should print this, you see, hello people of BBQ, it's a pleasure. But you want this to go to the next line, right? So you do it like this, and okay, what this will do is that anything that follows this will move on to the next line. That is basically it, right? So that's basically what it does. So it has moved to the next line. If I want to listen, then I'll do this like that, right? So hello people of BBQ, it is a pleasure to meet you, right? So that sorts that out. So if you want something to move to the next line, that is what Ancilla School brought about. This /n in your string. It's a way of formatting your string. It is used in the string. It's on itself not really like a command on its own. Do you get me? It has to be embedded in the string for it to be used, right? So, but there are other ways you can do this. You can use the multi-line. You can use the multi-line thing to achieve practically a similar thing. If you don't want to be getting /n for /n in your program, you can have your multi-line take care of all that for you, right? Once you have multiple lines, you should be fine. So I can print this, and you see I got the same thing as with the /n. And once you know that what you are going to create, you are going to be doing it on multiple lines, the triple quotes should be able to sort you out. That way you don't forget to put the /n, right? So if you are comparing it to anything, you should compare it to the multi-line quotations. That's the triple quotations, right? But you shouldn't compare it to strip, right? Strip is a method. Do you get me? That allows you to remove the brackets before, the space before and the space after in your string. So strip is a function outside of the string which you use to affect the string, to modify the string. Okay, so no, you cannot use /n in place of strip function. Nah, you can't. Okay, hope you understand. Answer that, please. Is that okay? Okay. I didn't see that, but I'm assuming that's you. Okay, cool. So let's go on. But this was a good question. Let's go on. Okay, let me use another example. So let's say we have first name, right? First name is, let me find a name, Freddy. Let's say we have first name Freddy, right? And we have last name to be Lamar, right? Now, if you want to concatenate, that means if you want to join them, you have to use what? So let me call this full name, right? Then I'll say full name is equal to what? First name plus last name. So I'll say print what? Full name. So that will give. What just happened? Did I spell something wrong? Okay, my first. Spell the first name wrong. So that will give me Freddie Lamar. Now you can see that it joined it perfect, right? But Freddie Lamar is supposed to be two separate like names, right? So what I can do is that I can do a plus with an empty string, right? So I'm coming to join it with what? An empty string. Do you see that? Right? So what it's going to do is that it's going to take the first name, it will concatenate it with an empty string, which is what you see here. Then it will concatenate it with what? The last name. So now if I run this, it will show me what? Freddie Lamar. Okay. Hope that is understood. Hope that is understood. Okay, let's progress. Um, Now, sometimes you will be required to join an integer or different data types. For example, let's say let me continue with this example. Okay, let's say Freddy is 34 years, right? And let's say Freddy's okay, let's say Freddy is 34 years. Okay, and let's say Freddy makes a monthly salary of $5,000. Okay, so let's say Freddy makes a monthly salary of $5,000, right? Let me add this in salary in dollars. Okay, now first name is Freddy, last name is Lamar, 34. Okay, and let's say we want to print a yearly statement, okay, for Freddy, saying how much Freddy makes in a year. Okay, so we want to print something that will read like this. Freddy is a 34-year-old teacher who makes where's the dollar sign? Who makes $5,000 in a year. Okay. Assuming we want to use this is just a comment. Okay, this is just a comment. Assuming we want to use the information that we have here, right, to print something like this in such a way that anytime you change the 34, it will change in the string. Anytime you change the name, it will change, and anytime you change the amount, it will also change. Okay. Let me make this monthly salary. So to do this, we will have to do a lot of concatenation. One, we have to concatenate Freddy with Lamar, with is, with years, with old, with teacher. You get me? With the monthly salary. There's a lot of concatenation that we're going to do here, and I'm going to show you how it will play out. Now, before that, in order to achieve this, we have to learn something called casting. And I'm going to explain to you why we have to do casting. Okay. So now what casting does is that casting specifies the type of data the program should use. For example, 34 is an integer. Okay. And one thing you cannot do is that you cannot join different data types. Like I cannot join an integer with a string. It's like saying add number 34 to Freddy. It's not possible. But you can sort of change the data type. You can tell the program that don't use 34 as an integer, but use it as a string. You get it? So in this case, you specify the data type that should be used in that scenario. So we are going to learn something called casting. Casting is simple. To cast something or to specify the data type of that thing, all you have to do is to write what data type it is before you write the data in the bracket. So for example, if I have a number 4 and I want it to be a string, all I have to do is to write the data type, that string, and then I'll write the number 34 in it. What this does is that it makes sure that this 34 is treated as a string and not as an integer. If I have a boolean and I want it to be treated as a string, I'll just put it in a string cast, and it will treat the true as a string instead of a boolean. Okay, we can do the same for all other data types. If you have 34 as a string and you need to change it back to an integer, you can put int over this, and whatever it is, it will treat it as that. Okay. Now usually you'll be using these things in with variables. You won't just put the number inside. No, there's no point. So for example, let's use this example to see how casting is really going to work with concatenation. So here we are practicing two concepts at the same time, casting and concatenating. So let's do this. So now we can say we want to say Freddie is a 34-year-old teacher. Let's focus on that first, right? Freddie is the first name, so we can say print, right, first name. So we have that down. Now we need to say is. Okay, is a string, so we need to what? Write is here. So Freddie is. Okay. Now if I should print this, we are not done yet, but watch. If I print this, Freddie is, it has been combined, right? So the best way to do this is to create a space before the is, and to create a space after the is, so that the is will not join to any other thing, like will not stick itself on what? Any other thing. So Freddie is. Now we're going to do is a, right? Is and the a are both strings, so we can put the a inside the is, like with the is, right? So Freddie is a. Now the 34 is Freddie's age, right? 34 is Freddie's age, but it's an integer, so we need to convert it, or we need to cast it. Sorry. So cast. I'm going to cast the age into a string. The age is an integer. I'm casting it so that it's used as a string. So you have 34 there. So we have done first name, that's Freddie, is a 34. That's the string of age. Okay. Now I have to write year-old teacher, right? Now here we can do something like, instead of the teacher being there, we can say job and then create teacher. You get it? This makes sure that we can play around with different things. So I've created a job category or a job variable, and I've written teacher. So all I have to write here is year old, and then I will again concatenate this with what? Job, the job that he does, right? So here we have Fred. First name is a string of age, that's 34, year old, then job, teacher. Okay, I just added the teacher variable, so please take note. I mean the job variable. Now, who makes, right? So we are going to the who makes. So we can come to who makes. Leave space here. Leave space here. Then we need to have $5,000. So we can put the dollar sign there, because that one is also a string. Then we can have the 5,000. That is, the 5,000 is a number, so we need to cast and put the monthly salary in dollars. Okay, now here the issue is that we are saying that what he makes a year, but what we have here is what he makes what? A month, right? Okay, so let me throw this question to you. Can anyone tell me how to get how much he makes a year? We know how much he makes a month. How do I get how much he makes a year? Can someone just put it in the chat? We know how much Freddie makes a year, right? Freddie's a 34-year-old teacher who makes 5,000. We know how much he makes. Sorry, it's not supposed to be 5,000. It's supposed to be something that we don't know, right? Yeah. So can someone tell me, how do we get how much Freddie makes a year, knowing how much he makes a month? Help me out here. This is simple. Okay, brilliant. So multiply by 12. And who can tell me what's the syntax to do that? What's the syntax to do that? How do we do that? I've taught you guys how to do multiplication in Python. So how do we do that? Can someone write the code in the comments section. How do I multiply by 12 in code? Okay, awesome. Only one person is answering my question. So okay, so monthly salary in dollars we know is 5,000. The number of this thing we know is 12. So all I have to do is what? Monthly salary in dollars times what? 12. And the asterisk takes care of that for us. Okay. So brilliant. So we have, so whatever answer this gets, it will convert it to what? To a string, or it will cast it as a string for us. Okay. It will cast it as a string for us. Then we need to add the rest of the sentence. That's in a year. So that brings us to the end of the string, right? So we have this, boom. Now we can print. So here we have Freddie is a 34-year-old teacher who makes $60,000 in a year. Brilliant. So we have done that. Now, if for instance we want to use the same program for someone else, right? All we have to do, let's say instead of Freddie, who else is here? Let me find another name. There's nobody here. Let's say instead of Freddie, we have Kofi Asamini. And let's say Kofi Asamini is a let's say it's an accountant, right? And let's say he makes maybe $800. And let's say he is, let's say, 29 years, right? So with this same information, the program is already written. Do you get it? So you don't have to write another program to produce the person's yearly statement, right? So you can use this to automate it for every person. Kofi is a 29-year-old accountant who makes what? 9,600 in a year, right? So yeah, we have written a simple program that can print out somebody's what? Yearly statement, and it can be used for anyone whose information you have. Okay. Now, this is good. This is good. Please, does anyone have a question before I touch on one last thing? My throat is hurting. Box, can you please take water for me? Please, any question? Any question? Okay. Okay. Now, let's look at it from another approach. Now, this is another approach that allows you to, in a way, concatenate. But basically, what it does is that it allows you to use your variables without having to do all these concatenation, right? So, for example, And this, I forgot. This one, it should have been the full name. So I should have done Freddie last name. Sorry about that. Let me add that to it. I should have done this and then last name. Right? Yeah. So something like this. Something like this would have sorted it out. Something like this would have sorted it out. Okay. So now this is one way to do it. Okay, one way to effectively print a full string that takes advantage of different data types, okay, and variables. Another way you can do it is, and that's what I started doing here. If you don't want to use the join, that's concatenation, okay, you can use a string formatting style, okay, where you do F, right, then your quotation, two quotations opened. Then anytime you want to use a different data type, you put it inside, or anytime you want to use something that is not directly a string, you put it inside what? A curly bracket. So let me do it so that you see. And what this does is that the way you see it is the way you get it, okay? So let me just finish it. So I'm going to say Freddie, please, the person writing on my screen, please clear it. Freddie, the last name. Please, the person, clear what's on my screen. Someone has put something on my screen. Clear it. That's going to make me waste time clearing this thing. I've cleared it myself. Okay, so first name, last name is a age, year old. Then I can have here job. Who makes then here in this context I would have to do a computation of this before I put it there, right? So what I'll have to do is that I'd have to create something here called maybe yearly salary, right? And then I'll do the monthly. Let me just copy this so that I don't. I'll do the monthly salary times 12 here, right? So who makes yearly salary? A year. Right. So this is another way to approach it. This is not what I'm teaching. I just want you to know that there is another way to do this. This seems long, but I wanted you to know that there's another way to do it. But being able to concatenate at any point in time is a helpful skill that you should practice and you should master. Okay? But at the end of the day, know that you can also format your string this way to equally get a similar thing. Kofi Asamini is a 29-year-old accountant who makes 9,600 in a year, right? Yeah. Okay. The concatenation allows you to do other computations in it that you cannot do in the formatting. Okay. Yeah. Please, do we have any question? Any question? Any question? I think today we've not covered strings yet. We are behind on our timetable. According to our timetable, we should have done We should have finished lists today, but we finished strings. We only finished strings. So we have lists, tuples, sets, and dictionaries. Once we do lists, the application is similar to tuples, sets, and dictionaries. So that shouldn't be difficult. Once we complete lists, we have practically completed that for today. Right? Please, any questions? Our time is up.